As Nintendo continues their enormous launch of the Switch 2, releasing a Game of the Year frontrunner in Donkey Kong Bananza, Xbox cancels multiple highly anticipated titles, closes a studio, and lays off plenty of staff. That's right, to the surprise of very few, Microsoft is still losing ground in the console post-war era, seeing as they already admitted they lost. This is, however, yet another somewhat confusing string of announcements, as Game Pass continues to experience record growth. Of course, not doing much to expand the Xbox brand of hardware, but still undoubtedly bringing in plenty of cash. So what exactly was affected by these changes? Well, for starters, the reboot of Perfect Dark that was properly revealed last year has been completely cancelled, along with its entire development team at the initiative. Other studios weren't quite so unlucky, but have still seen projects cancelled and staff laid off. This includes Rare's Everwild and an unrevealed MMORPG from ZeniMax Online Studios. And in another piece of bad news for Xbox, they had to embarrassingly walk back the $80 price tag on The Outer Worlds 2, citing current market conditions, but likely just reacting to poor pre-order numbers.
Meanwhile, Nintendo released its second major launch window title for the Switch 2 in Donkey Kong Bananza, an action platformer where the entire level is your sandbox, letting you destroy almost everything in the environment. You might think that this would make for a messy and radical departure from the previous DK titles, but it's this wacky creativity that has really landed with players and critics, earning it a Metacritic average of 91 and almost certainly a nomination for Game of the Year. While this paints a very contrasting picture for Xbox, they did at least launch a highly anticipated sequel in Grounded 2, and according to reviews, it seems to have met those pretty lofty expectations in everything other than performance. Even in its early access release, Grounded 2 is sitting at mostly positive reviews on Steam, with players and critics praising its enhanced gameplay, story, and RPG mechanics. There really doesn't seem to be any gameplay gripes in its initial, albeit unfinished launch. So considering the only major complaint is technical, this is definitely one to watch as it continues receiving support.
Killing Floor 3 is the long-awaited sequel to one of the most legendary zombie FPS games ever made, and despite some complaints about a lack of content, it's off to a fairly strong start on Steam, and reviews from critics are generally positive. I jumped in myself and had a lot of fun with its brutally gory combat, so I'm hoping it gets plenty of support from the developers going forward. Wildgate is yet another multiplayer release for the month of July, but in my opinion, it's one of the best we've seen in a very long time. Many have described it as a sort of round-based Sea of Thieves in space, and I've had a lot of fun blasting, flying, and even infiltrating enemy ships in these incredibly engaging battles. There's also a focus on PvE with a variety of objectives rewarding you with upgrades to help you take on rival spacecrafts, although you don't even have to get into combat to take home the win, as discovering and extracting with the artifact before anyone else will grant you an instant victory. This is not as easy as it sounds, however, as making it to the titular Wildgate will often result in a gloriously intense battle. This is probably the least popular of the three multiplayer games we've talked about in this video, but has actually received the most praise with 87% positive reviews on Steam, so I'd highly encourage you to give it a go if you haven't already. Eriksholm: The Stolen Dream is a top-down stealth adventure game with some truly breathtaking visuals. I've been absolutely blown away by just how good this looks and plays on the Steam Deck, and it also seems to tell an engaging story based on the near overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam.
So what do we have to look forward to next month? Well, it appears to be a fairly big one, with Mafia: The Old Country releasing on the 8th and Metal Gear Solid Delta on the 28th. If you'd like to keep up to date with both of these titles and more, please make sure to consider subscribing.
Thank you for watching, see you next month.